A Botswana man that was living in South Africa got married to a South African lady, have baby together, faked his death, and vanished from South Africa. 12 years later, his South African wife discovered that he has been living his normal life at Botswana. A lot is happening. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Now watch the video.
How is it that I married my husband 12 years ago and all of a sudden he's here alive in another country with a different family? I told my daughter, let's just stop this. And she wanted, and I said, I can't right now. I got up from where I was sitting and I went into my bedroom and I started calling his family members. Now, I started sounding very crazy to the family when I started asking, Ukuba, is it by any chance that their son was still alive? His aunt who raised him, who was basically like a mother to him, said there's absolutely no way that he's alive. We buried him. You were there, I was there. And there were forensic investigations that proved that the remains was his. He's dead. So I say, Auntie, I hear you, Lendrititayo. I know what happened, but this is what I had discovered. I then first sent her the picture that my daughter sent me from the parking lot. She calls back and she says, no, it can't be, because this person does actually look like him. And I say, you see, I'm not going insane, but there is more. So now myself, my daughter, his family members, Sonke, we are in disbelief and we are in shock. So I then ask her, who is the family that is still at Botswana? Maybe they can have a different answer, but why would he then die and all of a sudden rises and is alive at Botswana? I didn't want to believe that my husband had faked his own death. From all these people that I've known in my whole entire life, that man was honorable and he was honest. He would never do this to me. And he would never do this to his daughter, not his daughter. Auntie then says, Uguba, there isn't necessarily people in their family that she still knows that are there. There might be, but then there is no connection or any form of relationship that's happening. The family scattered and it is what it is. This is when me and my daughter went back to Botswana. Because one thing that's not going to happen, I'm not going to go insane as if I'm not seeing all of this and we are just making these things up. So I then went to my child's school and I requested to see the professor, of which we did meet. I wasn't sure how I was going to start this conversation, but I asked her about her husband, who might look like my late husband. And she was like, that's not possible. She has been married to this man for many years. Her older kids are 23 years of age. There was never a time where her husband ever lived in South Africa. He only used to come and do work and then he was back in Botswana. Now I had to think about the time that he would be away. There was never a time that my husband, when he was still alive, he would go to Botswana. So because the professor was so sure, Uguba, I'm the one that is cuckoo's and that her husband is actually her husband and cannot be my husband who had died. She said, okay, fine. She's okay if we can meet. She said, we must meet at this specific restaurant. We did. As we were waiting, it's myself, my daughter, and the professor. My husband then joins in. So as we walked into the restaurant, we were facing this way and he was coming from the back. So he obviously doesn't see anything. He knows that he's meeting people, but he doesn't know who. Uyafika uputi, he greets his wife and then turns to greet us. The cold shock on his face when he saw us. I think he could recognize me. He couldn't recognize his daughter. As I looked at his man, as shocked as he was, I knew that this was my husband. This is the man I had thought I had buried. So he quickly wanted to move and leave, and then I got up and I pushed him back. And this is when his wife then says, "What's going on here?" I then look at her and I tell her, "This is my husband that I have thought is dead." And as you can see how shocked he is, he knows exactly who I'm talking about. He then says, "Okay, let's sit down. I guess it has come to this right now. Therefore, he might as well talk." He tells us this horrifying truth of him living a double life for years. That he had to leave South Africa and it had to be like he had died. Otherwise, very dangerous people were going to find him, and if they had found him or they knew that he was still alive, those people were going to come after me and my daughter. He didn't have many options. Now, there's a lot of very sensitive information that I can't share in this story of why and who these people were that are after him. So he has been in hiding in Botswana for the past 12 years. And as his wife would know, he hardly does anything. In fact, he doesn't leave Botswana whatsoever. The wife is shocked. I'm shocked. My daughter is crying. It's just a mess, and it's a lot. So not only was my husband married to me, he was also married to someone else who he had married before me. But his family doesn't even know about this other family that he has at Botswana. And that wife also doesn't know that he actually has a family in South Africa and that he was married, or actually is married, to me. He asked us to leave the restaurant as there was still more that he needed to share with us. We then went to their house and he called his other children as well. So the older children, they arrive. This information is given to them. They shock. We are all like literally just listening to him. I was outraged. This is when I lost it. Because after that pain of losing him and trying to move on and rebuild my life without him, only for him to show up from the woodworks 12 years later. And not only do I know that now he is alive and wasn't dead, but the fact that he has a whole wife and children elsewhere. Now the shocking part is he wants me and my daughter to uproot our life from South Africa and come live in Botswana. But his family must not know that he's actually alive. He's sorry and he wants to make things work. Work how? How? It's been 2 months since this whole thing has happened. My daughter is struggling at school because this has impacted and affected her greatly. Now, I am still in love with my husband because I never stopped loving him. It's just that death, or so I thought, death did us part. I don't know what to do with the situation. Do I carry on with his deception and lies and be oblivious that he has another wife and children in Botswana, but also continue having a life with him, and yes, uproot and move? The wife has made it very clear she wants nothing to do with this, and that her life is not going to be disrupted because she didn't know anything about this. So she is going to go on and carry on the way her life was, because Yena, she doesn't know that she has a husband that had died in South Africa and now he is alive again and he has a wife and another child. Therefore, she does not recognize any of that, recognize me or recognize my child. And I don't blame her, but I want my husband back. So what do I do at this point? Yeah, ne? But that's the end from Anonymous. Finding out someone that you loved and who you had thought was dead is a huge emotional, devastating blow. It comes with a lot of confusion, a lot of anger, a lot of sense of betrayal. Of all of that is valid for Anonymous. And there's honestly no easy or quick way to fix this situation. However, I feel the decision Anonymous wants to make is going to be more detrimental than what she had thought was real on his passing. I don't see anything good coming out of this situation, and I just feel that she is setting up herself for more betrayal and more hurt. So Kebondase Nizvel, Anonymous is in this situation. Her dead husband is not dead, he's alive, and he has another family, but he still wants to be in her life, and she wants to continue. What advice do you have for her? And